Hey, welcome back. In today's video, I want to answer some questions I've been getting, which is why photographers and videographers are finding it hard to get clients in 2022. Now, usually my answer to this would be quite generic in that you're not good enough, you're charging the wrong price and that sort of thing, but things are slightly different at the moment. So I'm going to go through the 5 main reasons why I think you might be struggling to get clients. Now, the first one is something that's always an issue, but I think it's worth reiterating, and that is that your work is generic. It looks like everybody else's work. There are millions of us, literally millions of us photographers out there. If your work just looks like it's come straight off Instagram or Pinterest, the chances of you getting booked for a high-end job are very slim. And the chance of getting booked for a low-end job are even slimmer. Yes, you're probably more qualified for it, but because there is so much competition at that generic level, you're just one of many, many people, and it's all about who you know at that level. Until you can get to a point where your work speaks for itself and it has its own identity and its own sort of perspective on the world, it is very difficult to actually achieve any consistent bookings. Now, the next one is something that I've fallen victim to several times in the past, and that is the black hole of pricing. Now, the pricing and the way you structure your business is pretty straightforward, and I've got a whole video on that somewhere else, but there are certain price points which are just completely dead ends. So let's take my situation, for example. I live in a very small city called Leicester. When I used to work locally here, I used to charge £500. I had a lot of work at £500 a day or £250 for a short 2 hours sitting or whatever it may be. That level of work was easy. Easy to come by, lots of it, and there weren't too many photographers at that particular time in Leicester because of the recent recession. I then upped my price to £750 and I just lost all my work. There was nobody willing to pay £750. Now, I was about to back down to £500 again, but luckily my friend spoke to me and said, look, this is not what you want to be doing. Up it higher. So I pushed it to £1,200 instead. And I suddenly had as much work as when I was charging £500, but obviously I had way more money coming in. So there was the same amount of work going out, but nearly double the money coming in. And that's pretty good as far as business goes. Now, something which might be obvious and you're probably aware of, but might not be relating to your current problem, because when you are stressed about a lack of work, it's very hard to see the big picture. There's currently a war going on in Ukraine, which has got the whole world feeling a bit tense, and we've just had a pandemic. Everybody's a little bit scared about spending money. I have had a very slow start to last year. This year, on the flip side, was incredibly busy, but it wasn't busy with this year's work. It was busy with last year's work that was delayed so much that it fell into this year. Likewise, we've got 3 jobs up in the air at the moment, and everyone's kind of going, yeah, we're going to do them. They're going to be soon. We'll get on there. And they've got these huge, big ideas and ideologies about how this new branding should work and all the rest of it. But nobody's quite willing to pull the trigger on the finances. And this is a problem which everyone's going to have, and it'll trickle down right the way down to the base level and the grassroots of photography. People are scared of spending, myself included. I am very much trying to spend as little as possible right now. I'm really going as lean and mean in my business as I can, because other people are scared, which then scares me. And then that means people I'd normally employ and pay, they're getting scared and I'm employing and paying them less. So it's a bit of a catch-22. In order for things to bounce back, everyone needs to spend money, but because everyone's scared, we don't spend money. And that is how a recession often happens. Now, I reached out to ask this question to people to find out what their problems were. And what I noticed in the people who answered this, and this is no slight on those people, but I think it's more of a reassurance for you, but you've not been doing it long enough. You really haven't. It took me a decade to get to a point where people were willing to pay me 5 figures for a shoot. And it took me even longer until I got 6 figures for a shoot. It takes time. And even when I was starting out, if we look back through it, I got published within the first... Well, my first ever photo shoot was published, got paid, that was good, then nothing. That's annoying. Just had to turn that light off because the fan kicked in. So this is not doing it for long enough. It takes time. And when I tell people it takes 10 to 15 years to get a good career, that doesn't mean you can't make money in the meantime. I've been full-time for 10 of those 15 years. The first 5, I did it part-time as a side hustle, but it wasn't until recent years that I made a good living from photography. It really does take time. And it wasn't until recent years that people started to seek me out by name and by the work I produce and the style of work I produce and the niche that I work in. That took time. Up until then, I was absolutely hustling. I was doing weddings, I was doing headshots, I was doing event work, I was doing everything. I still had my body of work. Back then it was different, but I still had it. But there was a lot more going on. And it does just take time. If you've not given it a good 5-10 years, then just remind yourself that, nothing comes quick. If you were going to have a job as anything else and you had to go to university, you do your 3 years at university first in the UK. And then once you've done your 3 years at university, you'd have to get some work experience, add another 3 years on, there's 6 years. Then you'll get into some sort of low junior level job. And then by the time you've worked yourself up to the good 6-figure salary, you're probably 10 years into your career, unless you've particularly looked out or done something particularly lucrative. But for most of us, it's a good 10 years to get somewhere. And even if you've just finished like university, you've still got a long slog from that point onward. And I think it's worth noting that I'd say the majority, and this is not all, there's some great photographers at universities who make good livings straight off the bat, but the majority of them, when they leave university, the university degree doesn't actually equip you with the skills you need to even be an assistant, let alone a commercial photographer. It's a very useful thing to have, and I'm absolutely a big advocate of education. I think everyone should do a degree, whether it's in photography or not. It's worth doing because it's a great way to learn how to learn. And that skill for myself has been incredibly useful. My degree and masters are in sports science and health-related physiology. Very little to do with this stuff here, but it does help me be able to learn how to do something very quickly because I know how to find information. Now, the final point comes down to marketing, and are you really marketing? Now, I hear a lot of people going, I'm doing marketing. What they mean is I've done a couple of social media posts and handed out some business cards at a networking event. That is not marketing. Now, I have a Marketing 101 course, which is my shameless plug here for today's video. And I have an advanced marketing workshop, which you currently can't buy because I'm doing some finishing tweaks to it. But the two of these workshops here go through an in-depth version of what you should be doing, and I guarantee you it is a lot more than you're currently doing. I bet you are not using and optimizing services like Bikini List. I bet you are not key listing key clients that you want to work with and then working backwards, finding out who in each agency works on these accounts, who it is you need to be wining and dining, who it is you need to be sending work to, what work it is you need to be sending to them, what test shoots you need to be doing in order to get to those places, making sure you have a good schedule of test shoots in order to be able to market that work out, because it is the personal work that gets you the big jobs. Not the latest ad campaign you shot, no one cares about that. It is the personal work. And case in point to this is I just sent a treatment off, didn't have a single test sheet in it, it was all personal work. My website, not the Tin House Studios, but my scotchasino.com website, my actual photography website, that is 90% personal work. Unless the commercial work happened to be exactly what I would have done anyway, I don't put it in there because people are paying us for our perspective on the world, for our opinions, and for our vision as to how things should look. So make sure your marketing is a real effort. It should be at least a solid 8-hour day once a week, and Instagram and all the rest of it, not really marketing. It's just kind of like... Anyway, hopefully some of these things here will help you in getting that work and help you change whatever it is you're doing, or even reassure you to go, yeah, do you know what? It's fine. I've not had any work this month, but I'm only 4 years in and these things take time. I've got enough money coming through. I can get some part-time bar work. I can go and work as a temp in an office, whatever it may be, to make things just mosey on by. If you have any more questions on this, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.